Welcome to episode number 220 of the Beyond Social Media Show, the podcast for all of you marketing, advertising, public relations, and communications professionals. We are recording live on YouTube on March 8th, 2018. A lot of things to talk about this week as usual. Among them, Philando crowdfunds, 13 billboards, historical Barbies, helpful errors, Techmeme rides home, mallbots, T-Rex IRL, obscure holidays, creepy echo, thought transfer, AI interviews, and BL kicks it off with the best story of the week. BL, what was the best story of the week?
Well, given that it's International Women's Day, I want to start with the fact that Mattel is making Frida Kahlo and several other historic and living legend women into Barbie dolls. So kids around the world are soon going to be able to have a Barbie doll with the likeness of Frida Kahlo, Amelia Earhart, or Katherine Johnson. And among the living legends, Olympian Chloe Kim, I love her. And so they don't have the exact date when they're going to hit the shelves, but they're each going to come with educational information about the women who inspired them. And this series is called Inspiring Women. It's going to have 14 new women, and Wonder Woman director Patty Jenkins, Australian wildlife conservationist Bindi Irwin are going to be part of it. So I think that's pretty cool. And we covered the Hello Barbie, the creepy speaking Barbie doll in episode 90 of the Beyond Social Media Show. So there'll be a link to that in the show notes. But these look pretty cool. I would like the Frida Kahlo Barbie. My birthday's next week if you want to send me one.
That is very cool. That's I'm actually surprised that they hadn't done that long ago, because
you would think, right?
Very good idea, very smart idea.
It's a good idea, but they're still going to be bizarrely, their measurements will be bizarre. The Barbie doll still wouldn't be able to stand upright with the measurements she has, but they'll still be historical women. I like it.
Yeah. I did. So they just Amelia Earhart. They just apparently verified her bones. They
at last.
So that's done. Check that one off the box. And then I also saw that the New York Times is publishing posthumous obituaries for prominent women. So I think Charlotte Bronte was one of them. But
They said that it was always white men who were in the obits, and that's exactly who's been everywhere until recently.
Yeah. Well, speaking of holidays, tomorrow, do you know what holiday is tomorrow, Bill?
Some silly thing, I'm sure. What?
It's National Barbie Day.
Is it really?
It is indeed.
According to whom?
I know that because the people who make up the holidays. CNN's Doug Chris had a piece on holidays and basically profiled the people behind them. So there's only 10 official federal holidays. But there are plenty of unofficial holidays, among them National Barbie Day tomorrow. But as it turns out, anyone can create a holiday. Chris profiles several of them. Among them are Adrienne Sue Cooper-Smith, was a Chicago woman who bills herself as America's premier eventologist. And at last count, she says that she's created more than 1,900 holidays, including Hug a GI Day, that's March 4th. International Skeptics Day, October 13. Rick, I know you're listening. That's your holiday right there. National Splurge Day is June 18. Lost Penny Day is February 12. Pay a Compliment Day is February 6. National Pandemonium Day is July 14, although these days it's probably every day. And then there's, of course, Ant Appreciation Month, which is August. She's got a blog. We'll put a link to that in the show notes. There's actually a publisher, Chase's calendar of events. They're basically the official arbiter of holidays now that the government has gotten out of it, which they stopped chronicling holidays in the 90s, I guess. But they sell a book every year. The paperback version is $88. There are so many holidays in there.
Who buys that?
because there's so many holidays.
Really, but I mean, who needs to buy that book? How many do they sell?
Well, I'm think I'm going to buy it. So I know all about
I
it.
actually have created a holiday or two. I did a world's largest tomato day when I worked for Miracle Grow, and
Oh, nice.
I mean, but that wasn't how you did it. I've forgotten. There was a place where you went to do it.
Yeah, there's a submission form. So this company has a submission form that you can submit your holidays to. There's also a couple. Just let me leave you with a couple that I'm very fond of. Poetry at Work Day, January 10. Young as You Feel Day, which I'm warming to. A decade ago, I might not have thought much about it, but now I'm warming to it. March 22nd, and most importantly, International Beer Day, August 4. So there you go.
Well, on a much more somber note, but a sweet, kind thing. Unfortunately, you probably all do remember Philando Castile's murder, which was streamed live by his girlfriend, Diamond Reynolds, who was in the car with their 4-year-old daughter. The video was viewed more than 2 million times within a day after the murder. And then after the murder, it was reported that Castile was known as Mr. Phil. He was a kind man. He supervised the food program at an elementary school, and he knew every one of the kids by name, and he would often reach into his own pocket to pay for the lunch of a child who didn't have money for lunch. So to honor his memory, in a diversity and ethics class at Metropolitan State University in St. Paul, Minnesota, your state, Dave, they decided to raise money to pay the lunch debts of students at his former school, which is J.J. Hill Montessori School in St. Paul. And they said it's something so true to who he was. And the response was so big that last week they raised enough money to cover the debt of all the students in the St. Paul's public school system and then some. So Mr. Phil is still helping to feed these kids a good meal, said the Pam Fergus, who's a psychology professor at the university and who started the fundraiser. And she said kids shouldn't be shamed because they don't have money for lunch. And the goal was $5,000, but now they've already raised $188,000, and their goal is now $998,000. And the money goes to kids who fall through the cracks of the federal free lunch and reduced price program, which is probably on its way out with our current administration, that is supposed to ensure that all kids eat lunch. And so across the system, a total of $102,000 in lunch debt is going to be wiped out by the money that they've raised. And as the school year progresses, they hope to expand beyond St. Paul and go into other districts. And the site is Philando Castile Feeds the Children, and there'll be a link to it in the show notes. Made me happy.
Yeah, it's a fantastic story. That's a fantastic story.
Yeah.
This story made me laugh, and so it made
That's
me
important.
happy. Made me happy. This I just came across. I don't even know how I came across it, but I did. It's from a site called 9gag, and they've chronicled 13 billboards that are just absolutely creative and very clever too. So I'm just going to tell you about 3 of them. We'll put a link to it in the show notes so you can see all 13 of them. But the first one is, so it is a billboard that is tipped sideways. So the billboard is slanted a little bit on the perch, and there's a man who is overweight in one corner. So he's clearly tipping the billboard up. And the headline just reads, "Time for Silberman's Fitness Center." So that's very clever way of portraying that. Another billboard has a picture of a man sitting in a back seat of a car with a slingshot attached to the seat and sitting out in front of with the rubber bands going out in front of the billboard with the slingshot sitting in front of the billboard. And the headline reads, "The back seat is no safer. The backseat is no safer. Belt up." So basically, it's a PSA billboard. And then finally, this is simple and effective: a billboard that looks like a basketball backboard with a basketball hoop. It's way high because it's a billboard, and so there's a basketball hoop and the red square behind the hoop, and the only thing on it is a YMCA logo. So very clever.
I love that one, but I also love the drive-in movie one.
Yeah.
So, Speaking of cars, Techmeme has started a daily podcast called Ride Home. And if you're not familiar with the site Techmeme, what they do is that they handle concise headlines of news from all around the web. You can tell where I am. I'm in New York City. That's just our regular noise. Think of it like birds tweeting. Anyway, now they're launching this daily podcast, and it's called Ride Home. It is meant to be listened to on your ride home, where apparently like 49% of people listen to podcasts during their commute, or maybe it was 59, I forget. And so it's going to be released Monday through Friday at 5 p.m. Eastern, and it's going to have a roundup of the day's tech news that should last about 20 minutes, and it's just to create a quick recap that you can listen to on your ride home.
That is something that whenever somebody asks me how long a podcast should be, I always say 20 minutes.
Yeah, we should strive for that, but
we don't do that. But I always
do that.
20 minutes. The average length of the commute is 20 minutes. So that is what you should strive for that very reason. So,
but a lot of people also listen while they're working out, and that might be longer than 20 minutes.
It depends on how dedicated you are, I suppose.
Yeah.
So this is from a Next Web article by Marina Pozniak and Tamara Hilms. And it is, so back in the day, when I used to code websites by hand, and I'd get all these very unhelpful and cryptic error messages. And you've probably seen them if you use Windows computers back in the day, just a code number, and it doesn't tell you anything about what happened. So you have no idea how to fix anything because
it didn't even give you the line, right?
No, completely unhelpful.
Yeah.
So this article is how to write helpful error messages, basically. It says, first, ask yourself if you even need an error message. Is there some way that you can redesign whatever you're doing? Is it a website or a mobile app or program or whatever? Is there a way you can redesign it so you don't experience the error at all? Eliminate the error. Just make it work. But then if you can't avoid that, if you need it, think carefully about the message and say something useful. The message should help the user solve the problem. Say what happened and why, suggest the next step. And I'd also recommend add some humanity to your message, add some humanity to the experience. Write empathetically, write how the user is emotionally feeling, because everybody hates error messages. So you can, if you're clever and charming. Yeah, we wrote in episode 28, we talked about web forms being so frustrating on the most frustrating experience on the web, and how people should be designing charming web forms. So when you have an error message, it's something clever and witty and makes the person smile so they're not so frustrated filling out the form. So good advice.
So for fun, we are getting the next Pokemon. It's an AR game from Jurassic World. This is from a story in The Verge by Andrew Webster. And this is just like Pokemon, except this with giant dinosaurs. And later this spring, there's going to be a new Jurassic movie, Jurassic World Alive. And no, that's not the name of the movie. I'll get to that. The name of the game is Jurassic World Alive. And you're going to be able to interact with dinosaurs, and they're hanging around in the world kind of like things were in Pokemon. And according to the developer, whose name is Ludia, seems to go by one name, players discovered dinosaurs by locating them on a map and deploying an in-game drone to collect DNA samples. Then you can snap a photo with your favorite dinosaurs. You can level up the beasts you capture. But unlike in Pokemon Go, you can battle them with other players. And so the screen's map is in a detailed, the game's map screen is in a debut trailer, which we have on the blog post that'll follow the show. And it even looks like Pokemon's AR game, but it's going to come very close to the new Jurassic World Fallen Kingdom film, which is going to debut June 22nd. Looks like fun.
It does look like fun. I'll be all over it. It'll be lots of fun. They had the last Jurassic movie that they released. They had an app that you could take a picture and put a dinosaur.
I had so much fun doing that after you told me about it.
Yeah, and then you could do it with video as well. So you could have a pterodactyl flying through the city of Minneapolis or whatever,
That
or
was
New
good
York in this
fun. Yeah,
case. Yeah.
whoever's doing behind this is a lot of fun.
Yeah. So this is a local story from the Star Tribune. Kavita Kumar is the writer, and she tells about the Mall of America experimenting with robots. They have a robotic greeter. Its name is Pepper. It's a pint-sized humanoid robot that has a tablet for a chest. So customers, obviously, in a mall have a lot of questions, and Pepper is there to answer them. The Pepper is made by SoftBank Robotics. So robots are common in Japan, where this company is from. But they're still relatively rare novelty here. But now that they've been upgraded with facial recognition and artificial intelligence, there's more companies that are beginning to explore their use, Mall of America among them. They began their pilot program over Black Friday weekend in order to see if it could be a useful tool to help visitors find specific stores or restaurant, because the mall is just massive. And also, the experiment was to help them think through how to develop a voice strategy. So by having the robot there, they can collect voice data and see what questions people are asking, and see how they can use those insights into devising a broader voice strategy. The mall also launched a chatbot in early December. In the midst of the holiday rush. It's on the website. It works on the website. It works in the mobile app, in Facebook Messenger, and via voice through Pepper, the robot, and through Amazon's Echo. And apparently conversations through that chatbot end up getting transferred to a human only about 20% of the time. So it's 80% accurate, which is pretty amazing, actually.
So the little greeters at the mall are being unemployed by robots?
Yeah, the mall never had greeters.
Oh, okay. Well, a lot of stores did, and it's kind of sad that they wouldn't be there. I kind of like smiling humans. So speaking of Amazon Echo, I know I'm not supposed to say Alexa, but
so why'd you just say it?
Because she's been very creepy this week. This is from stories by Engadget and BuzzFeed by John Fingus and Vanessa Wong. And imagine this: you're reading in bed at night, the house is dark, your Amazon Echo's in another room, and all of a sudden she's laughing, a creepy, loud, human-sounding laugh, kind of randomly. Gavin Hightower tweeted, lying in bed, about to fall asleep when David crossed out Alexa on the show notes, when she, my Amazon Echo Dot, lets out a loud and very creepy laugh. There's a good chance I get murdered tonight. So is she going to murder you in your sleep? Well, Amazon admits its smart speaker is acting up, and mercifully they say they're working on a fix. But Vanessa Wong reported that one person's Echo refused to let them turn the lights off. They kept turning back on. They continued. After the third request, she stopped responding and instead did an evil laugh. The laugh wasn't in the Alexa voice. It sounded like a real person. Robert, hashtag resist Sandy, tweeted, so this is going to sound insane, and I do mean literally insane, but God is my witness, it really happened. She started doing random shit, no joke. And then I asked her to play my Betty Buckley mix, and she scared the crap out of me by telling me the definition of the word please. I swear to God. And then, I'm not making this up, I said, Echo, you're freaking me out. And she fucking laughed. Parker Malloy, who I love her tweets, she tweeted, well, humanity, we had a good run. And this, my friends, is why I don't have her in my house. Dave,
I think
did yours laugh?
No. No.
That's creepy.
I think they're being hacked.
Well, that's
somebody who's hacking individuals. Well,
they've changed the command now to "Can you laugh?" rather than, I don't know. They changed it, but if somebody did that to all those people, that's still creepy.
Yeah, that's nothing though. I got creepy right here. This is from.
Give us some creepy, Dave.
This is from a Next Web article by Tristan Green. So he talks about some Japanese scientists that have created AI that's capable of reading a person's brain waves and displaying an image based on what they're looking at. So if you're staring at the picture of a letter A, the AI will successfully create an image that resembles a fuzzy version of that. The scientists have published a paper called titled Deep Image Reconstruction from Human Brain Activity, wherein they say, here we present a novel approach named deep image reconstruction to visualize perceptual content from the human brain activity. So over a 10-week period, the scientists showed images to human test subjects and recorded their brain waves. At times, the subjects were monitored in real time while they were looking at images. Other times, they were monitored while being asked to recall the images. The researchers used the brain scans to train a deep learning network to decode the data and visualize what the person was thinking about. So if you think about letter A, the computer doesn't actually obviously know what you're thinking. It just knows what the brain waves look like when you're thinking it. So it's decoding the brain waves, basically. They have a very specific form.
Better.
Yeah, one day the technology could turn our minds into projectors, or allow us to share streaming photos of our actual streaming footage of our actual dreams. And if you think about it, if you can output thoughts to a computer, then why can't you input stuff into your head? So this could enable understanding without communication, gain knowledge from machines and other humans instantly. So there you go. That's on the horizon. But this actually has been done before with video. Gizmodo's Jesus Diaz wrote about in 2011, it was reported that UC Berkeley scientists had developed a system to capture visual activity in brains and reconstruct it as digital video clips. We'll have some examples of that in the show notes. And then finally, lastly, I have a tweet from Futurism that shows a video of a guy demonstrating controlling an exoskeleton with only his thoughts by harnessing his electric activity of his brain using an EEG device. Pretty interesting.
Oh, I did one of those EEG devices. It was for peak performance, and it was a client of mine was treating kids who had ADD, and I think that's still being done. And you got your head all hooked up to these electrodes and everything, and then you played a Pac-Man game where you used your brain waves. You had to put yourself in I forget if it was an alpha or a beta state, and you made, in one game you made a white line down the road, and in one game you played Pac-Man with your brain, and it was supposed to help you with focus, and athletes use it for peak performance. So that is creepy, though. That's very creepy. And
Yep.
Speaking of creepy,
well, let me finish. Let me pipe in
sorry,
here.
sorry.
I actually played that game too, the Pac-Man game with using the EEG device. There's a lot of activity in using that type of technology for neural feedback to treat post-traumatic stress disorders and other mental issues by anxiety disorders by focusing the brain. So it is interesting technology.
It really is. So AI can be very creepy. And now if you go look for a job at Unilever, IBM, or Dunkin' Donuts, and a whole lot of others, you may have your facial expressions analyzed via AI during a video job interview. So, everybody lies just a little during job interviews, but next time artificial intelligence might be watching your faces movements and assessing the honesty of your answers as well as your emotions in general. And it may try to determine whether your personality is a good fit for the job. So if you apply to Unilever or Dove or Lipton Tea or a lot of others at entry-level jobs, usually the applicants find the company's opportunities through Facebook or LinkedIn, and you can skip uploading your resume and just use your LinkedIn profile. And then you're asked to spend about 20 minutes playing about a dozen neuroscience-based games intended to evaluate your personality for things like embracing or avoiding risk, to see if you're a good fit for the job. And then next, if you get through that part of it, you're asked to perform a video interview, either using your smartphone or your computer, and there are preset questions, and that's where the AI comes in, as it measures your facial expressions to further assess your personality traits. And the software comes from this company called HireVue, and they then select what they believe are the best matches and return those to a human recruiter along with notes from AI observations about the candidates. Pretty scary, if you ask me. So I tried to play around with it a little bit, and it's kind of bizarre.
I'm trying to figure out how they can determine personality characteristics based on facial expressions. I mean,
some of it is your
doesn't.
eye movement. Yeah, I mean, because if you're, apparently they can.
Well, I mean,
Creepy. It's very creepy.
if it can detect whether you're telling the truth or not, then there's your new lie detector.
Right. I mean, I don't think this is particularly accurate, but it's yet another way of keeping humans out of the job interview process, which is really, in my opinion, a horrible development.
Well, people still need to hire people, so there's
Yeah.
that.
So they're trying to hire people who are going to fit the corporate culture.
Fit's an important aspect of whether you fit for a job or a company.
That's
That's an
true,
important
but
thing.
is that the way to find it? I have
I don't know.
feelings about that. Do you have more bad news?
I'm all tapped out of
Well, I
bad
have
news.
another one about Echo, and the issue here is that brands need to develop a new strategy for how they're going to deal with voice search assistants. Um, Sabira Shadori in the Wall Street Journal had a really interesting article today that was saying that if your brand is not in the top of the voice-activated search results, you're never going to be chosen. And so it's a threat to even the biggest makers of household staples, because what happens is that Amazon is quite likely to recommend its own brand and then maybe one other big brand. So in the past, brands would pay supermarkets and big box stores like Costco for placement so that they would know where they would be on the shelves and they would be guaranteed of exposure. And they, there were similar options on websites, but there's no such option on Amazon. So if Amazon Choice, this is what Amazon spokeswoman said, Amazon Choice is just our recommendation. Customers can always ask for specific brands or products if they choose. The selection depends in part on whether the item being requested is one that the shopper bought on Amazon before. So if you buy a particular brand, that'll come up in your next search. But right now, there's no paid search for voice activated searches. So there's another big way that Amazon will soon be making money by offering it, I'm sure. And there's a whole new category that brands have to think about, and that is how they are going to have a strategy to place higher in these searches. And it's a whole new area.
Yeah, it's something I'm focusing a lot on this past 6 months and this year, doing a lot of experimentation of doing optimization for voice, basically, because it's not just Amazon, it's Google,
Sure.
it's everything. So yeah, it's a combination of the personalization. In Amazon's case, it knows everything about what you've bought in the past, what brands you like, your searches on Amazon and everything. Reviews are big on Amazon, but then Google, it's the whole web. It's optimizing for getting because Google has basically the whole world's knowledge at its that it can tap for the questions you want answered. It just has, and its text to voice technology is amazing. So
and getting better every day, and being used more all the time.
It is how by 2020, 50% of searches are going to be done with voice. It is just the way that people are going to find information. It's too easy. It's effortless to do it by voice, and it's how we naturally ask for information since the beginning.
Well,
So,
brands need to really be paying attention, and you're smart to already be thinking along those lines, because this is new and this is big, and strategy is got to catch up.
Yeah.
But boy, Amazon's going to make a ton of money when they start making people pay for those placements. They may was they're apparently going to start printing money. They're going to have their own bank.
That's right. Yeah. Well, I mean, they're quietly one of the big players in advertising, period, already. So
Yeah. So are we now on to shiny new objects?
we are. What do you got?
Well, this was an interesting one. This is kind of like Upsplash, but it's called Reshot, and it's a pretty new, good source of non-stock looking original quality photographs from emerging photographers, and you can download them for free and use them on commercial projects or any way you want. What they do that's interesting is they have these curated packs, like they have like 15 photos in a pack on active lifestyle or diversity. And all that they ask for you to be able to download and use all of those is that you tweet the link. And so that helps them to promote the app. And they've got some really good photos there.
Very cool. It's like Death to the Stock Photo. They do once a month. You get you subscribe to their email list, and once a month you get a zip file of a handful of photos, beautiful photos that you can use. And yeah,
it's called
cool.
Death to the Stock Photo.
Death to the Stock Photo.
What a name! I like it.
Yep. Yep. So this is photography. This is an app called Afterlight 2. So there was an Afterlight 1 app. This is the upgraded, better version. There's a review on App Advice by Christine Chan that we'll link to in the show notes. But I've been using this for the past couple of weeks because we are launching our Instagram account, and I'm playing around with a bunch of more photo apps as a result. I like this a lot. It's the interface is very intuitive. It's got a dark background, so the focus is on the photography. It's got free filters that are submitted by its users to a filter gallery. So you've got a lot of options there. It is a for-fee app. It's $2.99, but I've used a lot of photo apps, and I really like this one, so recommend it. Yeah.
I have so many photo apps, but there's always a new one, and I use all of them. I mean, I like to play with them. So I have over the years taken many courses via Google, and Google's Digital Garage is their one-stop shop, basically free, for mastering digital marketing. And you work at your own pace, and you can complete each of 26 topics, on content creation, on every aspect of digital marketing. And you can earn a Digital Garage certificate of online proficiency if you complete a certain number of them. I've taken, for example, when Hangouts first came around, I learned Hangouts through a Google course. I've been doing the power searching one. I know you did that, Dave. And there's some really terrific free courses in the Google Garage. So there'll be a note to it in the show notes.
Yeah,
new ones all the time.
The Google Analytics courses is pretty much a must.
Yeah.
Their Google AdWords course is good. Their Google Tag Manager. Yeah, I've taken a bunch of them. So always good stuff. Let's wrap this up. Oh, okay. One thing. I got to shout out to myself here. It's quoted in an article by Share This blog post on Pinterest. 25 proven simple ways to get followers on Pinterest in 2018.
What was your way?
We'll put a link to that in the show note. My number one recommended advice is pin infographics. That's pretty much mostly what I do on Pinterest, and I get a lot of traffic from it. And followers just because people like infographics on Pinterest. So there you go. Do that.
I do. I was moved to republish a blog post that I first wrote in 2015 that includes an interview, and it's about the absolute privacy nightmare that happens when you do a quiz or use an app on Facebook and what you give away. And, my friends are always doing these things. This is why I spend less and less time on Facebook all the time. What color are you? What cheese are you? I mean, whatever the stupid thing is. And what you give away, all of the public information that you have on Facebook, plus everything your friends have, it's a horrifying thing. The company that mounts the the contest or whatever gets all this information and can do whatever the hell they want with it. Do not do those things on Facebook. They are stupid. So I will put the blog post in the show notes, because really, please don't ever do that anymore.
All right, let's wrap this up now. Speaking of social media, Pew Internet has has new data on Americans' use of social media by channel. They're always a great resource. So the latest numbers: percentage of U.S. adults who say they use the following social media channels or online or on their cell phone. 73% use YouTube, 68% use Facebook, 35% use Instagram, 29% use Pinterest, 27% use Snapchat, 25% use LinkedIn, 24% use Twitter, and 22% use WhatsApp. So that's a total of all Americans.
And from what I've been reading, Facebook is down something like 50 million views a day, which in terms of its 3 billion users or whatever they're up to is really not that big a deal, but it certainly indicates a trend. And I'm part of that. I spend very little time on Facebook anymore. That brings us to the end of episode 220 of the Beyond Social Media Show. And we'll have links to everything we covered in the broadcast, and it will be at beyondsocialmediashow.com/220. David Erickson, my charming co-host, is on Twitter as @DErickson. He blogs at eStrategyBlog.com and creativepr.com/blog, both of which you really should subscribe to because they're terrific. He's eStrategy on YouTube. I'm BL Ochman, and I am on Twitter as What's Next. My blog is What's Next Blog. I'm on YouTube as What's Next Blog. My business site is blochman.com, and my startup is funwalkers.com, which are funny license plates for mobility devices. The show is beyondsocialmediashow.com. We're on YouTube. We're on Twitter as BS Media. And please go to iTunes and subscribe to the podcast. We would love for you to do that. And leave us a review, which is the holy grail of iTunes. And we're also on Stitcher. We're on iHeartRadio. And we're on, what am I supposed to say, Amazon Echo?
Amazon Echo. Just ask Amazon Echo to play the latest episode of Beyond Social Media Show podcast.
And so we thank you for watching tonight, and we'll be back next week, same time, same station.
Thanks for watching.